envision a world where they work for free for an extended period of time for the possibility that they're going to make a shitload of money.
Well, I just think it comes back to I don't want to lose. And just like Kobe said after the playoff game, I didn't lose the game. I ran out of time. And I think if you
That's a different game.
different game. I think actually Michael Jordan said that actually.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it's Michael Jordan. But either way, there's a time limit on a basketball game. There's no time limit on our sales career. And so I'm never losing in the long run. I might lose this battle, but I'm gonna win the war at some point.
Well, then you get it, man. You get it. Again, talking to some of the salespeople and going back to real estate, I tell real estate agents, here's my line, and this will go on record. I sit down with agents that are new on a regular basis, and I ask them what their business model is, and I ask them what their goals are. And there's only 2 ways to become successful as a new agent in real estate right now. You ready? You need a $100,000 initial investment, and that $100,000, a portion of it is to pay your bills because you're not going to make any money. If you make a $100,000 investment in real estate, you will be successful in 1 year. Or you grind it out and you will be successful in 3 years. And nobody says that. Keller Williams doesn't say that. EXP doesn't say that because they want you in their downline. That's what they want. They want you to come on. And here's the secret that no one knows. And I learned this from a financial advisor because financial advising firms have been doing this for decades. So they bring people in, they tell them they're going to be successful. And what do they say? Work your sphere of influence. Write a list of everyone you know.
Northwestern Mutual.
Correct. Write a list of everyone you know. So you write a list of everyone you know. And guess what? If you go through the things and you do all of the things, you'll be successful in 2 to 3 years. And if you fail, we capitalize on your entire fucking list. It's a win-win for any brokerage, whether it's real estate, whether it's mortgage, whether it's financial advising, whether it's insurance. And that is where I fail because I explain that to every new hire. And then there's another guy that's like, fuck that guy. He's pessimistic, to your point.
But I think you're being realistic, and it's admirable to be realistic, and that you're trying to set these people up.
It's a
for
nice
the
guys
reality.
finish last type of thing.
It's a nice guys finish last type of thing, and I think that
I like to sleep at night.
I think you like to sleep at night, but also at the same time, my boss didn't give me the nice guy. I mean, in retrospect, which would have been the nice guy thing, which is like you're going to be working every weekend. You're going to be out at events. You're going to have to cold call people all the time. You're never going to have a day where you don't feel like I need to be closing new business. And I think if you had told me that at the beginning, I wouldn't have done it. But in reality, I came out on top. And that was probably rewarding for me, but also really rewarding for my boss. And it's like, of course, there was 2 other people that got hired at the same time as me, and they didn't make it, and they ended up in different careers. They don't even do sales anymore. But that was a make it or break it moment for a lot of different people. If you don't give them the opportunity to go out and make it and break it for themselves, then it's like you're not letting them lose their own battles and learn from it.
Right.
Okay, so going back to that 100,000 thing, if someone becomes a new realtor, they have $100,000.
Yes.
What are they doing with it to be successful in 1 year?
I'll tell you.
Let's break it down.
I'll break it down right now. I do this for agents all the time. If you have $100,000 to work with right now, first and foremost, we have to look at your housing expense. So this is if you're living correctly already. Don't get me wrong. If you have $100,000, I would encourage you to use 40% of that to pay your bills. You're going to use the other 60% of it, the $6,000 that you have, and you're going to utilize that to market yourself, whether it be through any form of advertising that we've talked about today, whether it be towards, doing events, doing all these things like that money, you need to treat that $60K as
a business investment.
Because here's one of my favorite things, and this is I'm going to give a shout out to the Craig Proctor organization because this is where I came up with this idea, was I watched one of the guys, James McDonald, who's like, I love this guy, and I'll tag him in this post. He did a speech to like a room full of agents and said, hey, you know what? I don't know what holiday he used. Let's say Thanksgiving. He goes, if you went to Thanksgiving dinner right now and you sat down with your family and said, hey, I have an announcement to make. I'm starting a business. And they're like, oh my God, we're so excited for you. What's the business? They said, I'm going to be an HVAC company. And they're like, that's amazing. Like, what's the plan? They're like, well, I went to the bank. I took out a $100,000 loan. I'm going to use $40,000 of it to basically float me while I'm running my business. And I'm taking the other $60,000. I need to buy tools. I need to buy trucks. I need to be able to purchase the materials that I need in order to do the jobs because I don't get paid until the job is done. And everyone would be like,
Brilliant idea.
brilliant
Way to
idea.
go,
Good.
dude.
We wish you the best of luck.
I love this analogy. Keep
Now, if you sat down with your family on Thanksgiving and said, I'm starting a new business, I'm going to be a real estate agent. And they're like, oh, that's amazing. You're like, I went to the bank. I took out a $100,000 loan. I paid $40,000 so that I can float my expenses. And I'm going to spend $60,000 on marketing and leads so that I can become a real estate agent. You would hear fucking crickets.
Exactly.
They would be like, what are you talking about? You're a real estate agent. You're what?
No, and I tell people that all the time in advertising. That's one of the main objections that you get in advertising. It's like, where's the return on investment? How do I measure it? And it's like, how are you gonna measure the investment if you own a restaurant? What's the return on investment on the oven?
Imagine running a restaurant. So here's what real estate agents do. Real estate agents go, I'm going to become a real estate agent. I'm going to get my license and I'm going to work my sphere of influence. And then what I'm going to do is when I close a couple deals, I'm going to start reinvesting in my career. Imagine if you were to open a restaurant and
Have
you
no
no
equipment,
tables.
have
right,
no tables,
and you
no
walked in
oven.
and they were like, "Oh, welcome to Chase's Pizza Parlor," and you're like, okay, where are the tables?" You're like, "Oh, we're gonna get those."
No.
After you buy some else.
After
Marketing
you
and
buy something.
advertising is just as important as the equipment you buy for your company. It's the same thing. It's in a different.
So, do you know why real estate is the business that people believe that they can make a $0 investment and become successful? Do you know why? I blame Gary Keller. I blame EXP. I blame all of these companies that have downlines because there are literally agents out there, and I know them, that don't close a lot of real estate, and their sole source of employment is designed to convince random people to become real estate agents
It's a pyramid
to
scheme.
to get into their downline.
Well, they're just a recruiter at that point.
Correct. You know recruiters.
Yeah, plenty.
You know tons of them.
And I think that's my biggest
Disguised as real estate agents.
biggest hang up on why I wouldn't join EXP. Sorry, I'm looking at some particular people right now. Is just because I don't want to be a recruiter. I joined real estate to do real estate, not to recruit people.
Well, and my favorite line, which also
This is interesting. I did not know that.
well,
that was
here's my
the-
favorite line, which comes from Gary Keller, because he speaks out of both sides of his mouth, in my opinion. You cannot fill someone else's cup until yours is full. Do you understand what that means?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, if you're not doing enough business to where you have an overflow of business, how in the world can you hire someone if you're not full, right? And
Well, no,
I'm triggered. I'm
no,
triggered.
no. I've been
We
there.
ran
I've
out of
been there.
goodness.
Because like when in my younger years, there were so many times when I try to incorporate me into a pyramid scheme. You know, like skincare products or or Amway or Nutrilife. Like, oh, you work out, like you can sell these fitness equipment, and then these fitness supplements, and then get your buddies to get in, and then 7 people from there, and then they expand, and then you all make money. And it's like that's not how business works. Like everyone has to be contributing rather than just recruiting other people to work in. I had no idea that like Keller Williams, EXP, and
They
all
were the
these-
first one to do it. They're
Yeah.
the first ones to offer like profit share and everything like
So like
that.
those Keller Williams offices that have a person's name on them, like they're just the top of the pyramid of that.
I mean,
of
it's
that
not
office.
that
They're
simple, but
individual franchises.
Yeah, like they're a franchise, but like
Yeah.
all of the little grunt workers underneath them aren't actually.
Keller Williams.
That goes back
has
to what
a
I said,
lesser-
where it like comes into like so there are a few names that resonate with me in Ohio. I don't know the big players out here, but like one of them that resonates with me is like Greg Erlinger. He every year wins the #1 real estate agent in Ohio. He's got like 150 agents on his team. Every deal goes into his name. So did Greg Erlinger sell?
So do they get like a lesser percentage on each of their deals?
The
real
money's
estate
the money.
agents?
It doesn't matter. It's just like they'll
His
bring
name is
him
signed
up and be
on
like,
it.
he closed 500 transactions this month. It's like he did not close 500 transactions this month, but his team did.
Mhm.
Well, that's like locally. Do you know Lisa Muniz?
Yes.
Yeah, so she doesn't.
Realty
She
Austin.
doesn't sell real estate. her team sells real
But
estate.
it all
She's
goes
got a
in her
listing
name.
coordinator. She's got a buyer's agent. They're not allowed to bring in their own business. It all's got to go through Lisa's name. So on paper, it looks like she's selling like 300 houses a year, but
Right.
she's got a team of like 5 that
Which
do
is,
it.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with
And
that.
she
But
seems like
again,
a great
it goes
woman.
back to the transparency.
I've seen
for
her
me.
in passing, but never actually like shook hands with her. But
I like her branding. Looks nice.
Well, let's do final thoughts, gentlemen. We are 2 hours in.
okay, final thought on something that you mentioned earlier. Always be prospecting. In Ryan Serhant's Sell It Like Serhant, he mentions there's 3 jobs every salesperson must do every day. And it's the FKD, finder, keeper, doer. So finding new business, nurturing the business you got, and then actually doing your work, which is really only a third of what you do.
I like that. I think a good takeaway is be genuinely curious in other people. That's what a real salesperson is like to not be a car salesman, not to be cringy, not to cringe at yourself. Is I'm not going out there to sell people things. I'm going out to make connections and have friends. And if they want to buy my products and services, then that's good for everyone. But my goal is not to have a bunch of friends that I just want to sell things to. Because then you feel disingenuous. And then when you're disingenuous, you're not convinced and have conviction about what you're selling.
Yeah.
So be a real person.
I think for me, I'm going to leave with the one take that I continue to hone on, and I just want to hit it home is I think if you're going to do anything in business, you have to be prepared to work with no compensation for an extended period of time, because the reason that you're doing it is because of those big hits. Like, I think a lot of people get into sales or real estate or any of these things because they see these huge commissions, but you have to remember that those commissions, they're not few and far between, but they're not every day. And you've got to, don't be discouraged when you go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month with literally not getting paid. But then when you hit that big commission, number one, remember what you put into it. And number two, remember that that isn't, it's just not every day. And we need to be honest to salespeople. I mean, we poked fun on not our last podcast, but the podcast before last, like the real estate agents with the Ferrari and all of that
Victor
stuff.
Nino.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I met his brother at the Cardone event.
Ah.
What a nice guy, man. I mean,
Victor's great.
they're
too.
great,
I
but
just don't like the Ferrari.
right. They're pushing a brand, is making it. It's kind of the Grant Cardone thing. It's like, it's not, the omission of a fact isn't a lie. It's like those dudes hustle, man. They make good money. They're doing it. They're doing a great job. I can't say anything bad about them other than you can't lead people to believe that once you get your real estate license, it comes with a Ferrari key and a fucking key to a mansion. So I got something that we got to finish it off with.
Should Shawn give a little elevator pitch of
you want to do
what-
elevator pitches?
if the
Yes.
public could see you, I don't know, for one thing, and where to find you.
I guess the best place to find me is either on LinkedIn. I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn on the business side of things. Also on Instagram, just like Chase. I like to keep people updated on what I'm doing and keep you involved in the story of my life. And if you ever need advertising solutions to reach the fastest growing segment of the Austin market, which is the Hispanic community, 33% currently, should be 38, and just in 2 years, reach out to me. We can help you guys reach the right people, the right time, with the right message.
Hell yeah.
I got you something really silly from Target. Chug!
My last sip. That was a lot of green flavoring.
Dropkick
We did
Murphys?
it. We did it. Another episode
Woo!
successful of Market
We've
on
done
the Rock.
6.
Which, by the way, is the number one. Well, no, it's number 2, but it was number 1 for a while. Number 1 podcast that I have.
Well, we've done 6 episodes, which, what do you say was the statistic on podcasts
say,
and
yeah.
6
Well,
episodes?
they say that a podcast isn't an official podcast until you hit 8,
Oh,
and
just
then
kidding.
it's not super successful until you hit 20.
Well,
We're on the journey. We're on the journey.
we continue. So next month we have the ATX drinker. Big time.